Deep in the desert of Sahra, which is totally not copied from Sahara, legend speaks of a hallowed shrine, whispered to bestow great strength and unnatural abilities upon all who are worthy. Many have asked the sanctum for this power, but have been rejected. Two legendary warlords battle over the shrine, an orc warboss, Grimgor Ironhide, and a vampire lord, Zacharias The Everliving. Grimgor journeyed through the desert for 5 days and 5 nights to find the shrine, and he brought with him 17 boars. But now only 6 remain because he ate 11 of them and told their riders they have to be Araboys now. Grimgor knows nothing about magic and shrines, so he brought a shaman along to orc-splain how magic works. So you see that thing there, Grimgor? Yeah, I see it. That's a statue. Good thing I brought you along. Grimgor is surrounded by 14 Black Orc bodyguards. Beside Grimgor are 20 spear orcs, and beside them is a forgetful orc big boss who needs a constant reminder of what his job is. Too bad he can't read. Some excited goblins line up to get launched out of a catapult while an orc bully cracks a whip on them. Steve and Bob, however, are not so excited.
How come you get to go at the back of the line, Steve?
Because it's your fault we're here in the first place, Bob. Grimgor is punishing us for running away the last time we went to war.
You ran away too, Steve.
Running away was your idea, Bob. We were supposed to die fighting and be remembered as heroes. Now we're just meat bombs. But maybe, just maybe, this battle will be over before it's my turn to doom dive.
Can I go at the back of the line, Steve?
No!
A playful giant named Phil, hello, proved himself worthy to face the undead in the last orc war and was dragged across the desert by Grimgor himself. Finally, here's a rock lobber. Zacharias is ridiculous. He can cast all 6 necromancy spells plus a Law of Death spell. Plus he has all 6 Necroc bloodline powers. Plus he can summon 4d6 plus d3 skeletons with the Book of Nagash. Plus he has unlimited dispel scrolls. Plus he has a 4+ ward save. And just to put a cherry on top, he's riding a freaking zombie dragon. All that for only 1,015 points. The rest of the army is 2 units of skeletons, 2 necromancers, 20 graveguard, and some dogs. In this scenario, the player with the unit closest to the shrine at the end of the game wins an extra 200 victory points. Vampire counts, turn 1. The direwolves march to the edge of some cheap, difficult terrain, reminding me that if I'm going to continue making battle reports, I need better terrain. Some skeletons march forward, then some more skeletons march forward with the graveguard. The necromancer who uses that giant rod of flaming death to compensate for his low level marches in front of Zacharias while the level 2 necromancer moves there. Zach's zombie dragon crawls forward slightly, and now
this is where the fun begins.
This is not the magic phase. We call this the Zacharias phase. Being a level 4 wizard with a dark acolyte power, Zacharias generates 5 power dice, meaning there's 10 dice he can play with. Meanwhile, the orc shaman has 3 dispel dice. Zacharias uses the Book of Nagash to cast the ultimate invocation of Nehek's spell. Holy Mother of Mork. Zacharias, fully aware of who the BSB is, casts Curse of Years on that unit. You know what? I'll dispel the next one. The orcs swiftly begin to age. 2 of them age so fast that they go from millennials to boomers in seconds and start telling the other orcs in the unit how far they had to walk to school when they were kids. Zacharias uses his last 2 power dice to cast Gaze of Nagash on the BSB. Now that's much more manageable. The orc shaman against all odds dispels Zacharias' spell, and Zacharias laughs in frustration at the shaman.
Who are you that would stand against me?
The noob necromancer uses the Rod of Flaming Death to cast a flaming, screaming skull, which smashes into the unit, killing 1 orc, which is enough to make the remaining 19 of them drop their nuts and panic. Orcs and Goblins, turn 1. The panicked orcs don't rally. Good news, they only flee 2 inches. The boars march forward. The obnoxious BSB marches forward. Grimgor moves forward. The shaman moves forward, but the giant sees some grotesque puppy dogs and runs over to play with them. The magic phase. It's my turn now, maggot. With 4 power dice versus Zach's 6 dispel dice, the orc shaman casts Gaze of Mork on the vampire general. Zacharias throws 4 dice to dispel it, and wow. Seeing that Zacharias was unable to dispel him, the Orc Shaman gets cocky and shouts,
You underestimate my power!
The circlet of Rathek protects Zacharias from the spell, but the dragon takes a wound. Maybe Zacharias should have used one of those unlimited dispel scrolls. The rock lubber fires at the skeletons, but the wind is quite strong today and blows the rock at the necromancer, but the shards miss him anyway. The Doom Diver launches a goblin at Zacharias but misses entirely, and the goblin paints the sand red.
Hey, Steve, want some spider venom?
Sure, Bob.
I'll trade you your spot in the line for my spider venom.
I can always get my own spider venom later, Bob. You know, when I'm still alive.
Do you want some magic mushrooms, Steve?
No!
Take down the general! 6 archers are in range, but only 3 of the arrows hit and none are able to pierce the dragon's hide. Vampire Counts, turn 2. The dire wolves who were going to take out those war machines try to avoid playing with the giant and head to the orcs instead. Zacharias commands his forces to move forward as his zombie dragon beats its tattered wings and flies in between Grimgor and the BSB, which looks truly terrifying. The necromancer heads over to the right with his big, long, hard stick that has caused people to panic in the past. Let's move to the magic phase now. Zacharias casts Invocation of Nehek, and another 13 of them pop out of the ground just behind the fleeing orcs, and then of course casts Van Hell's Dance Macabre on them to get rid of the pussies once and for all. But once again he is dispelled by the abnormally powerful level 2 Orc Shaman. I'm the real MVP, maggot. The necromancer with the rod of flaming death casts Invocation of Nehek, and 5 skeletons pop out of the ground in front of Grimgor. The same necromancer uses his rod of compensation to fire a flaming, screaming skull at the boar boys, which explodes into the unit with 1 hit, but the skin of orcs is tough and they take no wounds. The other necromancer uses the Book of Arcane to cast Van Hell's Dance Macabre. You know what? We're just going to use the English now. Van Hell's Dance of Death. As a result, the dire wolves move 8 inches, charging into the flank of the BSB unit. The book does not disintegrate. Zacharias uses his staff of Kaphamon to cast Dark Hand of Death on Grimgor's unit, which takes the life of 1 black orc. His zombie dragon then breathes deadly, pestilential black vapor on the unit, which causes another agonizing death to another black orc. Much to the giant Phil's disappointment, the direwolves seem to want to play with the orcs instead, and by play I mean kill 3 of them. The dual-wielding orcs attack back but are unable to kill a single direwolf, but one crumbles to dust anyway from combat res. Orcs and Goblins, turn 2. Phil the giant charges into the arse of the direwolves.
Hey, puppy.
The fleeing orcs manage to rally just before running away from the battle entirely. The boar boys pass their animosity test. Grimgor's unit, being so close to a terror-causing zombie dragon, takes a terror test. That doesn't make any sense for Grimgor's character at all.
You know what? That dragon is pretty scary. Let's go back to killing some Skaven, boys.
But boss, we marched through the desert for 5 days to get here.
Stop your whinging. You know what I do to whinging maggots?
Killing Skaven sounds good, boss.
The boar boys move through the stream. The Orc Shaman casts Hand of Gork, but Zacharias whips out one of those unleaded spell scrolls.
Bloody cheat, you is.
The Shaman then casts Gaze of Mork, and Zacharias somehow fails to dispel a 6. The Gaze of Mork pierces Zacharias and part of his body melts away as he takes 1 wound from the Shaman.
The score is 2-0 now, maggot.
The archers fire again at Zacharias, and a single arrow strikes where the dragon scales have decomposed and wounds the undead beast. The rock lobber fires into the skeletons at the back, getting a direct hit and wipes out 7 of them. The Doom Diver sacrifices another goblin for no reason whatsoever.
Seriously, what is the point in this? We're just wasting goblins. Give us some weapons and actually let us fight.
Are you whinging?
Sounds like whinging to me, Mr. Orc Bully.
Righto, you're
No,
going
I was at the
next,
back of the
then.
line.
The combat phase. The giant, excited to play with some direwolves, tries to jump up and down, but falls over and squashes 3 direwolves and 3 orcs. The last 2 direwolves suffer death by combat res.
That hurt.
Vampire Counts, turn 3. Sick of being unable to dispel the shaman despite his unlimited dispel scrolls, Zacharias commands the Graveguard to charge the shaman, who flees.
I've done my job. Good luck, maggots.
Zacharias declares a charge on the Doom Diver.
Stop, it's not my time yet.
Come on,
Time is a
get
valuable
on there.
asset.
Strap him in, boys.
Wait, look behind you.
You what? Oh, shit. Leg it.
The Spear Skeletons declare a charge against the BSB, who fail a fear test, but just before the big boss wets himself, he sculls a potion of Backbone Brew, bringing his leadership to 10, and he holds. The new Skeletons charge the Spear Boys, who no longer fear death. The Necromancers and Skeletons press forward. The Zacharias phase. Zacharias casts Gaze of Nagash on the Rock Lobber crew and wipes out all of them. He then casts Hellish Vigor on the Spear Skeletons. Then he casts Invocation on the new Skeletons and adds 5 more. Then he casts Van Hell's Dance of Death on himself, but fails. Then he casts Dark Hand of Death with his staff and kills a single Arab boy. Then, his Power Dice Dispenser uses the Book of Arcane to cast Van Hells on Zacharias, and he charges into the rear of the BSB. The book stays intact. The Necromancer with the big rod hurls the Screaming Skull at the Boar Boys, killing one of them, but they do not panic. The combat phase. Zacharias and his dragons slash into the arse of the BSB unit, killing 2 orcs. The skellies attack but don't wound anyone, and the orcs kill off 2 skellies. The summoned skellies fail to kill the orcs, but the orcs cut down 5 of them, and 8 more crumble to dust from combat res. Orcs and Goblins, turn 3. Grimgor's standard bearer, not wanting to leave empty-handed, says,
Hey Grimgor,
What?
the runt on the dragon called you a wimp.
He said what?
Grimgor rallies. The Orc Shaman, however, does not.
Now who's gonna explain the magic to me?
I can, boss.
Shut it, you.
With the dragon preoccupied, the Orc bully rallies Bob, Steve, and the rest of the Doom Divers. The Boars pass Animosity and charge into the Big Stick Necromancer. Phil finally stands up again. The Arrow Boys fire into the Graveguard, but the arrows only stick into their shields. The combat phase. The Spear Boys slay the remaining summoned skeletons, and the Boar Boys get 1 wound on the Necromancer and dies to combat res. The Boars overrun, heading towards the other Necromancer. Zacharias attacks the Orcs, but he should probably just stick to magic. The Dragon kills 4. The Orc scores no wounds and the Skellies kill another, so losing combat res by a shitload, they flee, even with a re-rolled break test, and Zacharias runs them down. Vampire Counts, turn 4. Zacharias declares a charge on the Boar Boys. They flee and Zach fails the charge. The Graveguard declare a charge of the Arrow Boys, who stand and shoot, destroying a single Graveguard. The Skeletons with hand weapons march past the shrine, and the Spear Skellies wheel to face the giant. These other Skellies wheel. The Zacharias phase. He casts Gaze of Nagash and melts a Boar Boy. He casts Invocation of Nehek and raises 11 Skeletons to join that unit.
How many bloody dead things are in this shithole?
Many of them humans got killed by that shrine, boss.
Did I ask for an explanation, maggot?
Zacharias casts Curse of Years on Grimgor's unit and uses Unholy Synergy to re-roll that 1. A single Black Orc ages 100 years in seconds and starts complaining about those darn kids and their music. The Necromancer uses the book to cast Van Hells on the Skeletons, and they charge into Phil the Giant.
Hello, friends.
The zombie dragon breathes on the boars, and 2 of them die to extremely bad breath, despite being boars. The combat phase. The Graveguard kill an Arrow Boy and they return the favor but lose combat res and flee and are run down by the Graveguard. Grimgor passes his panic test. Phil excitedly jumps up and down on the Spear Skeleton, squashing 7 of them, and 1 crumbles to combat res. Orcs and Goblins, turn 4. The Boar Boys rally. Grimgor charges into those skellies.
Oh, for the love of Mork, do we have to go back?
Are you whinging?
It sounds like whinging to me, Mr. Orc Bully.
Ah, crap.
Righto, you're going next then.
You are the worst goblin I know, Steve.
It's called karma, Bob.
The spear orcs turn 90 degrees and head towards the Graveguard. Grimgor demolishes all 5 skeletons on his own and overruns them. The giant continues jumping and crushes 2 more skeletons. They attack back but cannot wound the giant if their lives depended on it, which is ironic considering the fact that they're dead.
Vampire counts, turn 5.
Zacharias charges into Grimgor, who isn't afraid anymore.
Come here, runt.
Those skeletons move ahead slightly and turn to face Grimgor's flank. The Graveguard turn to face Grimgor's backside and move slightly forward. The Necromancer walks up to see the action. The Curse of Years spell continues on Grimgor's unit, and 2 more Black Orcs get severe arthritis in seconds and are unable to hold their weapons anymore. Zach casts Van Hells on the Graveguard, who hit Grimgor's rear end. He then raises 11 skeletons to protect the Necromancer from the boars. The Necromancer casts Van Hell's Dance Macabre, not using the book this time, and the skellies charge into Grimgor's flank. Then he uses the book to cast that same spell again, making the newly summoned skellies charge into the boars. And the book remains intact. Invocation of Nehek and Van Hells.
What can men do against such reckless hate?
The combat phase. Grimgor challenges Zacharias and he accepts. Grimgor hacks into Zacharias with such ferocity that he wounds the vampire 3 times, but Zacharias' circlet protects him from 2 and he suffers 1 wound. Zach attacks back. Stick to magic, Zach. The dragon attacks but fails to wound Mr. Ironhide. The Graveguard chop into the rear end of the bodyguards and kill 1 of them. The skeletons attack but don't wound any blorks, so the blorks strike back, killing 1 Graveguard and 3 skeletons. Losing combat to fear causing enemies that outnumber him, Grimgor flees. The Graveguard pursue but don't catch him. The skeletons pursue but don't catch him. But Zacharias rolls 3d6, so he'll catch him, right? Luckily for Grimgor, it's a dice game. Phil the Giant does not fall over but continues jumping up and down, squashing 3 more skeletons, so combat res is a draw. The last 2 boar boys smash a skeleton and don't take a wound from them, so combat res is also a draw.
Orcs and Goblins, turn 5.
The spear boys turn to face the skellies and Graveguard. Grimgor rallies his bodyguards. The shooting phase.
Now which one of you was going next? I forgot.
It's him. He's next.
Steve, listen. I need to stay alive.
Yeah? Well, I'd like to stay alive too, Bob.
No, Steve, you don't understand. I have kids.
You can't have kids, Bob. You're a goblin.
No, Steve, they're not my biological kids. Look, I kept this a secret for a long time to protect them. Do you remember when we raided the moot?
Of course I remember.
I met a halfling girl there after we burned down her house. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I apologized and told her I'd make it up to her. I used to sneak out of the caves every month to see her. We were in love.
Wait, you have a halfling girlfriend?
She had 2 kids and I became like a father to them.
Gork and Mork.
But then one night, when I went to her village, this guy named Archaon came through and slaughtered almost everyone. I found her lying in the dirt, badly wounded. As she was dying in my arms, I promised her I'd look after her kids. I'll never love another woman again.
That's terrible. I don't know what to say, Bob. I feel sad. And we goblins don't get sad.
Please, Steve, they need me.
Okay, Bob, I'll go. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for your kids.
Gork bless you, Steve.
Just do me one favor. Tell your kids I died a hero.
Fire!
The catapult misfires and Steve is launched so far into the sky he passes through the clouds and isn't seen again for the rest of the battle.
So much for dying a hero, Steve.
The combat phase.
No wounds are made either side of this combat, so the boar boys auto-flee. Surprisingly, Phil only kills 1 skeleton while they cause 2 wounds to the giant, and so Phil flees.
Wow, Phil is just one big giant pussy. Wait, where did everyone go? You are the luckiest goblin I know, Bob.
Vampire counts, turn 6.
The Graveguard charge into Grimgor. The skellies chasing Phil fail their charge due to that pathetic excuse for terrain. Zacharias heads over to the shrine to claim it for himself. The skeletons reform to face the spear orcs. The skellies chasing the boars overrun them as they flee. The combat phase. The Black Orcs kill a grave guard and they get no wounds in return, making combat res a draw. Orcs and Goblins, turn 6. The spear orcs charge the skeletons. The Doom Diver crew don't rally and flee into the desert. The giant rallies. Grimgor challenges the Crypt Keeper and he accepts. Being no match for the Grimgor Ironhide, he gets completely annihilated. A Grave Guard and a Black Orc slay each other, making combat res a draw once again. The Orc Spear Boys slay 2 skeletons and combat res there is also a draw, and that is where the game ends. So, let's tally up those results. Surprisingly, it was almost a draw.
Maybe I should have gone in the Doom Diver. Dying of thirst sucks. Wait, what is that? Oh my gork, it's an oasis! Holy crap, Steve! You're alive!
Bob, is that you? Did we win?
Don't ask stupid questions, Steve. I want to know how the hell you survived.
I'm not an idiot, Bob. I brought my own gliding wings. The ones Grimgor supplied were about as reliable as Games Workshop. So as I was gliding, I saw this lake from up in the sky, so I aimed for it. But now my legs are broken. What the hell, Bob?
I'm literally dying of thirst, Steve.
Where are the rest of the doom diving crew?
The orc bully got hungry.
That's unfortunate.
I'm just happy that we both survived, Steve. Now we can head back home to the Badlands.
Sounds good, Bob. And you can see your kids again.
What kids?